What's up? I see you got a lot of hearts on the side. I love it. I love it. Yeah, I had to turn the comments off because it's uh it's an NCAA violation for me to answer comments if it's like a recruit or something like that. So we could talk about a lot of stuff. The only thing we can't talk about is recruiting. Let me see if I can find my guy here real quick. There he is. Add. Yeah, I just requested him. See if he.
There
My
goes
man,
dog.
what's up, bro?
Man, listen. You see, let me apologize.
What's this, man?
I'm doing what the people tell me. I'm listening. I'm not, I'm quarantining. I'm not, getting my hair cut, trying to stay away, keep my 6 feet distance, trying to stay healthy.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
so I'm trying to show, you got to show your leadership.
Right,
You can't just tell
right,
people what to do. You got to,
right. You got to lead by example,
that's right.
and that's what you always been about. That you always been that guy, man. I don't have to worry about that because right here,
I see it's that razor.
yeah, I had to let it go. I hung on as long as I could. Even when I was in Jacksonville, man, the guys were like, "Come on, Tuck, you gotta let it go." I'm like, "No, no, I still got my line. I still got
Hey,
my line."
yeah, you were solid. I remember
About it,
those days. Those are good days.
yeah. You look good though, man. You look good. I'm proud of you, man. You've been doing a great job.
I appreciate it. So
I've
what's
been
been going
following
on?
you. Not much, man. I'm just out here living the dream in East Lansing, man. How are you doing? How's the family?
Good, good. I was just in the Bay Area. I just came back to LA.
Hmm.
I was just with him in the Bay Area. Kids doing good, playing football. Daughter's doing cheer.
Oh,
Wife is
really?
good. Dogs are good. Everybody's good.
Yeah. How many of those dogs you got? Three?
I got three. I had four. One of my bulldogs, I had to put him down.
Mm.
But that's how it goes. He lived to about 12,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
12, 13-ish. Um, I got two mastiffs now and another bulldog. So
You
the
got a
mastiffs are
mastiff?
two.
You got two mastiffs?
Yeah, huge.
How big? How much do they weigh, you think?
For sure, they're both over 200 pounds for sure.
Woo.
But one's probably like 225, and the other one's probably like 200, 195, 200.
Yeah, man. That's crazy, man. What do you feed them?
Regular dog food. You just go through it a lot. You just go through, 50 pounds of dog food twice a week. So it's part of it.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. So for people who don't know, we've known each other for I don't know what since 2009, I think.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I leave Cleveland. I go to Jacksonville as the defensive coordinator and defensive backs coach for Jack Del Rio. And I was fortunate because in Cleveland, we had a lot of great players, and then I had Jamal Lewis was our running back. And big time running back, Hall of Fame type guy. You know what I mean? J. Lou, he's the guy, right? And then I roll into Jacksonville. I got MJD on the squad, so I'm like, yo, I just went from like one great running back to the next great running back. And that's kind of when our relationship started. But you're on offense, I'm on defense. But for some reason, man, it felt like we always had like a really good bond. Do you remember what it was like, back then, like when I think Greg Williams left and then I came in? Do you remember that transition? What was going on around that time?
Oh yeah, I remember all that. Greggy came in with a real aggressive style defense. He wanted to, blitz, play man to man, attack the quarterback. And it was funny when you came over. You actually had coached one of my boys, one of my best friends, Damon Jenkins. You had him as an undrafted free agent, and
Yeah,
it's funny because people don't know. Like I'm just weird where I just want to know I don't want to know everything about everyone like that I'm gonna be
right,
around,
right.
especially in football because we're gonna be around each other. I'm gonna be around you more than I'm gonna be around my family. This is
That's
how the
right.
nature of the game is. And so I remember reaching out to him. Also, you coached my boy Eric Wright, E
He
Wright,
right,
which
my man.
yeah, I reached out to them and they were like, "You gonna love Mel. Mel's a great dude, like ton of energy, passionate, but you could just talk to him off the field." And I think that was the most important thing to me is I could relate to you off the field. And so when you came in, you had all that energy, right? Like it was so funny because it was like you got to compete to play, compete to stay, right? Like relentless. Like it's just
Yeah,
so many different things. Loaf, the different type of loafs, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, I have to tell this story because it's so funny. It cracks me up, but it was so true. I remember when you became the head coach, right? The interim coach, and you were talking about body language through the stick figures,
Yeah,
right? But it was so relatable because it's like it's okay. Stuff is going to happen. Bad stuff is going to
right,
happen, but you have
right,
to be, confident in yourself and your body language has to show those type of things. And so it was, it's funny when you came in. We were, 2008 was the season we had so much promise going in beforehand.
right,
Just
right.
came off a playoff run the year before, had a
Hmm.
ton of injuries, just a lot of turmoil going on.
Yep.
We had made some front office decisions have been made to pay some guys outside the building instead of guys inside the building, and that kind of messed
Yeah.
up. So,
Yep. Yep.
2009 comes in, and at that point, I was becoming. They just told Fred that they're going to let me kind of be the guy, and they
Hmm.
were going to let him go and test free agency, and
Yeah.
uh, it was just so much change that I want to say I might have been 23, 24 at that time,
Hmm.
like, and you got 30-year-olds looking at me for advice on how to do this thing. And so
Right.
it was
Right.
it was a different time, but when you came in, you brought a calmness that I thought we needed as an organization in
Hmm.
general. Because it was important. Like there was so much chaos going around everywhere else,
Right.
but
Right.
you came in with a different mindset. It was funny to hear you ride other guys and those things, but it brought a calmness to our team. And to be honest, I mean, I just wrote this article on NFL.com that's going to come out in a little bit, but um, we were a game or two away, I felt like, from making the playoffs.
Yep.
And we had a
Yep.
tremendous run late in the year, but a
Hmm.
lot of that was that we started to come together as a team through all
Yeah.
that, and it was the calmness of yourself, and I think a couple other coaches that were that kind of just put our focus and direction on ball instead of
Yeah.
everything else that's going on.
I tell you what, man, that was a great time in my career. I mean, I loved Jacksonville, and I love that group of guys. You talked about me being the interim head coach. Do you remember how that whole thing went down, man? Like, was that the craziest thing? Like, I walk in one day, and then next thing Wayne Weaver's calling me to his office saying, "Hey, I need you to do this," and we were getting ready for a Monday night football game.
That's right. I remember like it was yesterday. Like people, I don't think people really understand what life is like um, as a football player. Like you see the
Hmm.
glory, you
Right,
see the guys driving the cars, and you see
right,
the Instagram stuff, but you don't really see what goes on inside that building. And that
hmm,
was a time for like that was the first time I ever been a part of a coach getting fired in
right,
my life,
right,
right? And so I don't know how to handle that. I've never had to handle that before, and like I don't know. Am I supposed to keep in contact with Coach Del Rio? Am I supposed
right,
to not talk to him and put all my attention on you? Like
right,
there was
right.
so much going on at that time. And I remember, that was right around the time that he said he's going to sell the team too.
I
Right? It was
know.
like that whole meeting. Remember that whole meeting was like,
It
I'm
was.
selling the team. The coach is fired, and y'all got to handle this thing, right?
It's
And
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. But
It was
you
crazy.
know, as a group, we had some tremendous leaders like Daryl Smith, right? Who
Wow.
doesn't talk. He didn't talk a lot, but he came to work every day, right? We had, a lot of other guys who, Paul Posledney was there. A lot of other guys
Yep.
that stuck in
Yeah.
there. Ernest Biner being a coach that was,
Yep.
a part of that and pushing and making
Yeah.
sure that we stayed focused.
Yeah.
And I think it was the simplicity of what you gave us that first meeting. Of this is all I want for you to do. I want on offense. I just want you to finish everything, right?
Yeah.
Then defense was vertical edge, and we had the little coins, right? And but
That's
and
right, baby.
what I've learned in my life is when you have so much chaos going around you,
Yeah.
simplicity is what allows you to get back on track
Yeah.
and to focus on what you need to focus on, and that's what we needed at that point.
I tell you, that was a very interesting time for all of us. But at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun. I mean, it could. I wish we could have won more games during that stretch, but
Man,
But I do remember, I think I was driving, I don't know if it was after a game or after practice. I remember driving home one night. and I called you on the cell phone. And I said, "Hey, man, do you want to win the Russian title? Is this
I,
something that you want?" You like, Tuck, man, I want the title, but I just can't practice every day, man. My body's beat up. You remember that?
yeah. Listen, I tell people that story all the time when it's funny, your name comes up a lot, obviously in a ton of different circles. But I remember like I was like, look, I'm doing my best. Like I am trying to give you everything I got. But I think I had like pulled my hip flexor, I had an ankle or shoulder injury, and you were like, well, I don't need you out here then. I need you to be as healthy as you can for game day. And and I remember you said something that really, forced me to be a better pro. You were like, I want you to know the game plan like Dirk Cutter knows the game plan. If I can test you on Saturday and feel comfortable, then we can do this. And that was a challenge that I took head on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was because I remember that practice where I tried to come out there and practice. I couldn't run. I
I
was like
remember.
limping around, and
I
you were like, "Get
remember,
out of here!
man.
What are you doing?" I'm like,
Can't
but
do it.
it wasn't necessarily, and I have to always tell people this, that it wasn't necessarily just me out
Mm-hmm.
there. Like we had receivers out there blocking like fullbacks that bought
That's
into
right.
to what we
That's
wanted to
right.
do. We had offensive linemen, blocking 2 and 3 guys. Our quarterback was doing the best he could to lead us. Blaine was
Yeah,
doing his best,
that's
and
right.
that we all bought into that. And then the defense as well. The defense
Yeah,
understood and they bought into it, and we had
yeah.
a common goal that we wanted to reach. And even though the wins didn't really show,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really show in the win column. The
Yeah,
way we played showed though.
right. Yeah, we
And
got
I
better.
remember, at the end of that year, we had those meetings, and I remember sitting down in Gene Smith's office, telling him like, "You need to hire Mel. Like, like this is who we want to play for. Like, we're ready. Like this is who we want." Um, and it was probably like a 2-hour meeting that I was in there with him, and I was trying to convey to him the little things. Like I want to say that was the year you had the relentless, right? Wasn't that the year you had
Mm-hmm.
the relentless cart?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No
Yeah,
doubt.
right. That was the
Yeah,
year you hurt your quad, and so
yeah, yeah, yeah. I was on a scooter. You remember that? I was
yeah, I
coaching from a
remember.
scooter at the early part of the year.
Yeah, that's
That
and I
was
was,
brutal, man.
but you had relentless and relentless too. And think about that. That was 7 years ago, and I remember that because
Yeah,
you were like, it didn't matter what happened to me. I'm gonna come out here. I'm gonna coach my butt off, and I'm gonna do everything I have to do to make sure my guys are prepared. And I was like, that's what we're looking for, you know. But like you said, like that's what I learned when you were there. Like being a coach, you're more than just a coach,
right.
if that
That's right.
makes sense. Like
That's
like I
right.
coached little kids, and I did that for a couple years.
Mm.
Um, and I learned very quickly. Like I stole a lot of your sayings. I mean, compete to play, compete to stay is definitely one of them. Um,
Critical, critical.
Critical, you got to, right. The loaf chart. I had the loaf chart for my kids. I had the body language, the different type of loafs. We had it all, right?
I
But
love it, man. I love it.
but I also learned like you're a therapist as
Yeah,
a coach.
that's right.
You're a father figure as a coach. You're a mentor as a coach. You're all the things that's what coach stands for. Not just a play caller. Like that's the easy part.
That's the easy
You know,
part.
it
That's the
was it,
easy
the
part.
it was the other stuff that you did for us. Just the fact like if we came to you like, look, like today is just one of them days. Like we can't be in pads today. You'd be like, all right, look, give me pads today, and I'll take it off on the back end. Like, all right, we were just working. It's like anything. You're just working together.
It's it's the other thing that people don't understand is that there's a like you said there's a working relationship with the in the NFL with the coaches and the players.
Right.
It's like where you're working together. It's not like you're working for us. You're working with us. And that group of guys was like a great group. Do you stay in touch with any of those guys like Mercedes
Oh yeah.
or Greg Jones or dudes like that?
Yeah, I talked to I see a lot of the guys at the combine every year, guys that went into coaching or scouting.
Mm,
And we try to text and keep up. I think life, as you tend to leave football, it kind of takes you in different directions.
hmm
But I always try to check in on guys all the time. In Mercedes, I'm gonna talk to him probably once, twice a month, maybe.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I work because he's still playing, which is mind blowing. He's still out there giving it.
Unbelievable, bro.
Right, he's still giving it everything that he has. So I always watch him, and if the Rams, who I work for, play whatever team he's on, I get to
Hmm.
see them. I talked to Brad. Me and Brad Meester have the same birthday, so that's easy.
Meester.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Meester.
And then a lot, through social media, you always check in on guys
Yeah.
and things like that. So
Yeah, I'm gonna take you back to high school real quick. And if you look at your bio, it's long. I mean, you have a lot of accomplishments, but going back to De La Salle High School, one of the great programs, there was a undefeated run there of like 151 games. Am I right?
yeah,
And you were a part of that. But you never lost like 3 years. You didn't lose a game. So, like
I never
how
lost a game in high school.
never lost a game in high school. So
Never.
how far into that run was De La Salle when you got there? Was it at the beginning or in the middle or?
I was my senior year. They had one more undefeated season, then they lost the year after that.
Okay. What was it like going into that program and knowing that the expectation was we just don't lose games? And
You know,
being the guy, what was that like?
well, it's funny because the way they set their culture up wasn't necessarily like that. Like we didn't think about winning like the streak. We just thought about being the best that we could be.
Hmm.
Um, Total competition. Everything was, you know, like DJ Williams was there, who he told me to actually hit me up and tell me to tell you hello.
That's
He
my
said
dude.
something about steak and potatoes, no French fries over here. He told me to tell you that, but I was a freshman when he was a senior, and
Okay.
he had set the standard. Right, he
Yeah.
was the best player in high school football.
Yep.
Probably was the only guy I've ever seen that could go from high school to the pros if he wanted to physically.
Yeah.
Um,
Wow.
but I remember working out with him as a freshman, and we were good. Like we were talented my freshman class. We had a ton of guys. I want to say, off my freshman team, four of us went to the NFL, which is, I mean, that's like you can't ask for freshman football. Four guys go to the league, like you're solid. Um,
Wow.
but we didn't know how to work. Like we were just
Hmm.
a talented group. We didn't understand what hard work was. And I remember the
Sure.
first time I went to varsity to train. I was
Hmm.
actually working out with DJ. I threw up probably like 7 times, and I
Wow.
was like, "Dude, there's no way I can keep this up."
Yeah. Right.
And he was like, that's the only way you can do it. And so over time, if you wanted to play there
Hmm.
and you wanted to be a part of that program, you understand that you outworked everybody.
That's right.
Um, it wasn't, the expectation, again, like our expectation wasn't winning games. It was how hard were you going to work?
Hmm.
Were you willing to sacrifice everything for the greater good of the program?
Hmm.
And it wasn't the coaches telling us that; it was the players telling each other that.
Right.
And it's funny because in this article that I wrote for NFL.com, I said one of my biggest disappointments in football in the NFL was I didn't strongly encourage my teammates to train together while we were in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Um,
I got you.
and that is what made De La Salle so special, right? That's what
Hmm.
made my time at UCLA so special,
Yep.
is that we pushed each other to be the best that we could be. We, like, you could lean on me and I could lean on you if I needed it.
Sure.
And so I remember at De La, I remember it's so funny. We were playing, it was right after my sophomore season. I didn't have the best season. I was a sophomore, didn't know kind of where my, elbows were, my other part was. And I was just all over the place. And I remember our coach calling us all in, and saying, like, look, we're going to play this team, Long Beach Poly. Do y'all want to play them? And, we were a confident bunch, but,
Right.
we were like, why not? Like, we want to play the best. He was like, but
Right.
this ain't, like, you got to understand, these dudes are different. They got this guy by the name of Mercedes Lewis, who's 6'7", tight end, and they got Herschel Dennis, and they got these defensive linemen, and their line across the board weighs 300 and some odd pounds.
Hmm.
And we were like, okay, like, set it up. We have all off season to prepare for it, and we'll go out there
Right.
and see what happens. And, you know, that off season for me was the most important because every day we had something to strive for, right? It
Right.
wasn't like we played modern day before, we played other programs before, but they were the number one team in some boards, and we were the number two, and vice
Right.
versa in
Yep.
other things. So this was going to be the first national championship high school football game ever played.
Right.
And I remember
One
every
versus
day,
two.
1 versus 2. It's just if somebody got to lose. Somebody gonna win,
Right.
someone gonna lose, right? And I remember running track, and every day we were at track because they had a cat. We went down there to run, and they had a dude by the name of it's Derek something. I forget his last name, but he ran 10-3 in the 100. So exactly, you saw that face. So I'm like, I got to play defense and offense and cover this cat. Like I got to be on my game. And
Right.
so we would that off season was the most important, and it really changed my mind as a player on how important the off season is,
Right.
and how critical it is for success during the season. And so we went into that off season. I mean, we were fighting each other. Everything. If I saw you not doing your job, I
Right.
was on you like white on rice. Like, look, that's not good enough.
That's
You're
right.
not you're
That's
not
right.
working hard enough, right?
Right.
And it also forced me to become a leader as well because sometimes guys get complacent. Sometimes guys feel like it's okay, like I'm doing just enough.
Right.
But we were about to play Long Beach Poly. Just enough wasn't good enough. You had to be exceptional at everything you did.
Mm-hmm.
And it just changed my mindset going in, and that then I realized what De La Salle was all about, if that makes sense. Like that
Yep.
offseason
Yep.
really showed me what De La Salle was all about. Like, yeah, I can go in there and squat 300 pounds and do it 6 times, but if that was easy, I need to put more weight on the bar.
Right.
I can
That's right.
run, hundreds, and if we're running the 100, and we got to run hundreds and we got to run 10 of them, they got to come in 13 seconds, and that
Mm-hmm.
was easy. Well, I need to be coming in 11 and 12 seconds on my own
Mm-hmm.
without the coach telling me that I need to be faster,
Right.
right?
That's right.
And it just showed me exactly what it wasn't like. People can work hard,
Right.
right? And like hard work is, you can go out there and be in the gym for 7 hours and say you worked hard, but if you weren't
That's
doing
right.
it the right way,
That's right.
right? If you weren't pushing yourself, those 7 hours are wasted. And so
That's right.
that was the De La Salle mentality. And that's why so many guys come out of there that are successful, not in just football, but a lot of my classmates are successful in business or finances or
Mm-hmm.
whatever they're doing because of that mindset that was created. You either you learn it or you leave, right? And
Right.
that's
That's
how
right.
it was.
Well, you could have went to any. I'm sure you could have went to any college that you wanted to go to. You one of the most highly recruited players. You like the number one rated all around multi-purpose back athlete in the
I was
country
up
at the
there.
time. Yeah, you were up there, like way up there. And so, um, UCLA. What were your expectations? Just going into UCLA after being undefeated in high school, and talk to me a little bit about that process of deciding to go there, and then what it was like after you got there.
So like I mean, it was funny because my first scholarship offer was to Colorado, and I was gonna go. And I went on this trip there and it was 14 degrees outside. And I was like, ooh, I don't know if I'm
I
ready for
remember you
that.
told me that.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, I don't know. It's cold. And then next came Wisconsin. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like, am I gonna have to play in this cold weather? But after that came USC and a couple other places, and then UCLA came. And I did one. If you go to that campus and you see that place, like that was a sell on its own. But two, I was thinking more about like my legacy.
Hmm.
I can go to a team that's winning and continue to win,
Right,
and
right.
that's easy. That's
Hmm.
easy. I mean, you get guys, they already have a culture set up, they already have
Right,
things set up there. And UCLA wasn't a losing program. They had won 6 games, 7 games, and they were kind of on the thing. But there was a new head coach there.
hmm
They had just fired their coach, and there was a new coach there, and I wanted to be a part of helping build that program up. Um, it's funny. We're on Instagram Live, so I mean, we could keep it, and I'll tell the story. I remember first getting there and being like, wow, this is college football. Like, I'm gonna sit back and watch and learn because this is, it's different than high school. High school is one thing. This is college. This is different.
right,
And so I just sat back my freshman year. I didn't say much to people. Like, I kind of just did what I needed to do for me. and I would
Hmm.
just observe everyone and how people worked and different things. I never spoke out. And eventually, we were 6-1. We were 1-0, and then we lost to, I forget who we might have lost to. I think we lost to Oklahoma down the stretch. We ended up being like 6-1, and then
Hmm.
we literally lost 6 games straight, the bowl game included. And at that point, I was like frustrated.
Oh,
Um,
I can only imagine how you'd be at that point.
well, okay, so we lost the first game. We lost our first game to Colorado. That's who we lost to. We lost our first game to Colorado, and then I think we ended up losing to Oklahoma later in the year, and then that's kind of once we lost to Oklahoma, it was like downhill from there.
Right, right, right.
Um, and so I remember going into that off season, and I called all my freshman boys that we were all together. I'm like, look, Matthew Slater, who plays for the Patriots,
Hmm.
Chris Horton, who's a coach for the Ravens.
Yeah.
We had a lot of dudes there, and I said, listen, and we probably, I want to say like 6 or 7 of us went to the pros after that. But I said, look, you know, I don't know how you guys are used to working at your high schools, or I don't know how you guys are used to doing things, but this is not what I'm accustomed to doing. Like guys showing up late and all this and that. And I'm like, there's gonna be an opportunity for me to kind of assert myself as the leader. I'm gonna need you guys to back me up.
Right,
And we need, as a group, we need to kind of push ourselves going forward to
right.
be better. And so I remember like it was yesterday. We're running. We had the strength coach named Doc Crease, and we're running 110s. And we got linemen who are like 330 pounds, 340 pounds running these 110s, and they're tired. I mean, and it's not like we're getting this is the old college workouts when you're not.
Right.
There's no number of 110s you're running. You're just gonna run until he's
Just
tired.
running.
We're just running. And we had a guy, a certain player on the side who was walking, who was injured, and he was an older player. Um, and he spoke out, like, get off your knees and this and that. And then to me, I was like, dude, like, you're hurt.
Yeah, you hurt. What
Like,
you
you
doing?
don't
What you talking about?
like we're talking to him, but yeah, like, don't try to coach us or discipline us because you're a senior, because you're not out here working. And so we started barking, like, while we're running, coach, while we running, I'm barking at him. I'm talking crazy to him, and I'm
I can
winning
see
every
that.
sprint, and I'm barking at him. And then when we finally get done, I looked at my boys. I go, today's the day.
There
And
you go.
so we got in the locker room, and some words were exchanged. Guys got to grabbing on each other a little bit, and eventually, once everything, all the ruckus like kind of broke out, I said, "Listen, I'm not used to this. I'm not
Right,
used to losing. I'm not
right,
used to not giving it my all on the field. I'm not used to none of that." And I'm
right,
like, I'm not going to get used to that.
right.
And either you're going to be with us as a team and give it everything you have, show up on time. I was like, I don't have many rules. Like, there's not many
Right,
rules in football. It's be where you're supposed to be
right.
when
Do
you're
your
supposed to be
job.
there, compete, and get everything you have. That is literally it.
Period.
Like,
That's it.
what else do you want? Like, there's nothing else to worry about.
That's it.
And I was like, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to be here. We'll help. I will gladly help you get out of here if I can. Or we're just gonna fight every day, one or the other. You decide, right? Um, and I would say like 85% of the team bought into it, and there was the other 15 that didn't. But eventually, over time, when you become an outcast, right, and people stop, because that wasn't cool to me to not give it your all.
Right,
But that wasn't cool to me to show up late and or
right.
to you know whatever you were doing on your off time. If it wasn't helping us, it was hurting us, and that was my
Hmm.
mindset. And so, I had Eric Bieniemy, who, just won a Super Bowl with the
Yep.
Kansas City Chiefs as my running back coach, and Tom
EB,
Cable
man.
was there, and Carl DeRoe, who's now the head coach at Colorado, was the head coach
Yep.
there, and John Embry was
Yep.
the tight ends coach who's with the Niners. Kyle Shanahan was our GA. Like we had everything there to win,
You had
right? It
dudes.
was crazy. But it was the mindset of the players that we didn't, we didn't
Hmm.
have it. And that offseason was very critical for us
Hmm.
because we had to change the culture.
Right, right.
Um, and so it's funny because that next year, instead of going 6-7, we went 7-6,
Okay.
right?
Yep,
But
yep.
it was a different
Different. Yeah.
7-6 though.
Right,
Like we
right.
we went out and we beat a couple of teams that we weren't supposed to.
Hmm.
We lost some tough games, but it was just a different energy. It was a different vibe of what was going on. And then after that season, we after that, we had some other things that happened throughout that season. Like there was a meeting where I had to like call some players out in front of the coaches and stuff,
Right.
and other players stood up and called other guys out because again, don't get mad if you're not doing everything that you're supposed to
Right.
do.
Right.
Like
Right.
do it the right way the first time. We should be good.
Right.
But that next off season, we had 100% buy-in,
There you go.
and right, everyone is doing
Yep.
their job. Everyone's going and they're balling. And then guess what? We go 10-2 that year. And again, like I wish that everyone wish they can go back in time, but I truly wish when I became that leader or that person in Jacksonville that I
Hmm.
strongly encourage players
Right.
to do this, because if we train together, let's say from February throughout the off season together, and you get your
Yeah.
2 months off or whatever you
Right.
want to do,
Right.
but if we were working together from February on until let's say June, you would have a different feel for each other,
Right.
right?
That's right.
Even if you don't like someone, you would respect that person because you saw the work they're putting in, how hard they were working.
You got the
Or
chemistry, the culture,
chemistry,
everybody's buying in, working
right?
hard together,
And
sacrifice,
exactly, all those things would have went into play, and so that for me was like when I thought back, like I've had a lot of time to think during this quarantine, and that's something that I thought about. And one day was just like, if I had an opportunity to go back and do it all over again
Hmm.
as the leader of the team, it would have been less about me being the best that I can be and more about me trying to help our team be the best that we can be.
Sure.
And just training camp isn't enough,
No.
right?
No.
OTAs aren't enough.
No.
It's the stuff that you do when you don't have to be there. That's the glue to everything. And so that's what makes, to be quite honest with you, that's what makes high school such a phenomenal sport. That's why everyone loves it. Everyone played it. Everyone had that bond, that chemistry. That's what makes college football
Yeah.
so awesome, is that, you get mat drills and you have winter
Right.
conditioning and you have spring ball. You're with each
Right.
other 24/7, and
Right.
you learn how to handle people. You learn how to deal with different personalities. You learn
Right.
how to work with different people, and you learn to respect people. Even if you don't like them, you learn to respect them because of what
Mm.
they're putting their work in.
Well, you've always been a winner, man, and you got the experiences you have are just invaluable. And so you left early, correct?
Yeah, I left early.
You left early. So is it true that you went back to UCLA to try to finish up, or?
Yeah, I'm still. I left super early, right? It wasn't just early. So
You
UCLA,
left super early, right?
yeah, UCLA's on the quarter system. So, um, it's funny because, uh, I left after the fall quarter, which
Mm.
means it wasn't like semester where you have, two things. You have four. So I literally had my whole junior year and another 4 quarters of my senior year.
Oh,
So I'm still, piecing it together.
chipping away at it.
I'm chipping away at it. I'm not that
There you
far
go.
away, but I'm chipping at it.
Yeah, you
Um,
get there.
but yeah, like it's I think it's important to, if you start something, to finish it. And I had been
Hmm.
offered to do like, uh, um, I think Larry Fitzgerald graduated from Phoenix.
Yeah,
What is
University of Phoenix
University?
deal.
University
Yeah.
of Phoenix.
Hmm.
Could have did that. I could have went to JU in Jacksonville or
Right.
UNF,
Right.
but I didn't start there. And
Right.
it's important for me, and to show my children that, if you
Hmm.
start something, you finish it. And so I've been, really working on trying to get that done. It's tough
Yeah,
though, because once
I
you get the
know.
real world, school's a little bit different.
Yeah,
But
you got
um,
obligations, man. You got stuff you got to do.
exactly.
You'll get it done. You'll get it done. Speaking about, just life after football, man, like I always knew, you know how you see guys and you like, man, you worry about a guy after football. But for you, I knew that you were going to be successful. I didn't know what you were going to do, but it seems like to me from the outside looking in that you've kind of figured it out a little bit. Like I'm not playing. So can you talk to us a little bit about that transition and then,
Yeah.
trying to figure out what you're going to do?
Well, I think first and foremost, you have to have the proper people around you guiding you, right?
Hmm.
I got in the league at 20. Like, so I left super early, right? I'm 20 years old in the league.
Right.
And my agent Adisa Bakari, who represents a lot of guys in the
Hmm.
NFL,
Yep.
one of the things he told me was, when you get to the NFL, you're on the downhill of your career, right? If you think about it,
Hmm.
I wish everyone can play 20 years, right?
Sure. Sure.
But majority of people, if you really do it right, you'll probably play between 5 to 7 years. Is about what you'll get. You
Right.
get the guys that play like Frank Gore play 16, but you get also
Sure.
guys that'll be two and done. You get an injury,
That's
right? You
right.
don't know. And
That's
so
right.
he was like, we need to start focusing on your life after football
Hmm.
right now. And I was 20. I'm like, I just got drafted. Like, what do you mean? He was like, we need
Right.
to figure out what you want to do. And so we went through a series of different, I did a bunch of, the NFL has a bunch of these boot camps that you can do, from
Hmm.
broadcast boot camp to the music, business, from Wharton School. They'll do all these things for
Hmm.
you. And I just fell in love with the broadcast side of it. I thought it was very interesting that, to be able to still be around the game in a certain capacity. It's not as taxing as football,
Hmm.
but it's still, you still have to work at it,
Still got to
and it
work
still
at it.
gives you
Yeah.
something to go and do. Um, and so I remember when I got to Jacksonville, I did the broadcast boot camp my second year.
Hmm.
And then I had a radio show that I would do an hour a week. And then I did the TV show, which was an hour a week.
Right.
And,
Right.
they were small commitments, but they were reps that I needed to learn how to, be better.
Right.
And once I retired, I was able to, I ended up signing with the NFL Network, which was awesome because I'm still around a team in a way, if that makes sense. And I think
Yeah.
that's one thing that you see a lot of players struggle with is, that locker room is important, because in the
Yeah.
locker room, you can talk about any and everything. No one
That's
judges
right.
you. Whatever problems you have, you can
Right.
guarantee you 10 people in that locker room have been through it, and they can help you, in your whatever
That's right.
situation it might have been.
That's right.
But once you leave, there is no locker room, right? Now you're in the real world. You're in
Yeah.
you're in the workforce, and
Right.
you have to be careful on how you speak and some of the things that you say. And so
Sure.
coming to the
Sure.
network was a great transition, because there were guys that, Deion Sanders is there, Michael
Hmm.
Irvin, Willie McGinnis, a guy that really, was a person that I leaned on a ton, was Solomon Wilcox,
Yeah.
who's,
Solid. Yeah.
I've known him for a while now, but he was a guy that I really leaned on because he'd
Hmm.
been doing TV for 20 years at that point.
Sure. Wow.
So he was, giving me just sprinkling me with game, pretty much telling me, you know, find your niche, and, whatever you want to be on TV, be that. Don't allow
Sure.
other people to pull you in different directions.
Right.
And it would, like I said, it was still around being a team. Like, we'd go out and hang out, have drinks. We could still talk.
Right. Right.
Guys have families and stuff, but they would find time to help you out. And it's funny, like, you start, like, guys that I watched growing up, like Rod Woodson or Terrell Davis, like, they're my boys now, right?
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I always tell Terrell Davis he's the best player to ever play in the best system possible. That's why he got his Hall of Fame jacket.
A
Uh,
system back. A
he's a
system
system
guy.
guy. He's a system guy. But not like, but it's awesome because, he'll come back and he'll text me some of his highlights. But it's just, we have conversation, and it allows us to
Yeah.
still be the guys that, feel that type of way. And so it was a great opportunity for me to kind of be able to transition out of the game the right way.
Yeah.
Um, and like I said, that was really important for me. And so um, now being in, TV, and then working for the Rams, and
Yeah. How'd that
I'm
Rams
able to
deal?
kind of,
How'd that
yeah.
happen, man? Like, how'd you get that
I got a
gig?
call. So I had a radio show after Jacksonville. I got a radio show with Sirius XM, and I was literally doing that, every probably 3 or 4 times a week.
Hmm.
And the Rams had heard me speak on there, and they knew I was an LA guy, and I've been there, and they reached out and they were like, "Would you like to call the games?" I was like, "I've never done it before, but why not? Right? Why not try?" And let me tell you, I was horrible, horrendous. The first, like, I want to say the first 5, maybe 10 weeks was horrible.
How'd you
And
know? How'd you know you were horrible? Like,
oh, you could
did,
just I would just say stuff that I knew didn't sound right. Right? Like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it just I wasn't using the proper I wasn't describing the play the way that it should be described, at least in my
Mm.
mind. And I was listening to guys, and
Yeah.
I was studying, trying to figure out how other people were saying it, and
Right.
listening to different radio broadcasts. But I had to, again, it's similar to football, and it's similar to a lot of other things. Like, I had to find my way of doing it.
Yeah. That's right.
And
That's right.
it was crazy because I got depressed because I'm like, I'm not good at this. Like, what am I doing? Like, I just want to quit, you know? And my broadcast partner, JB Long, who is probably one of the best out there right now. He's a young guy, up and coming guy. But he'll be doing TV and stuff very soon. Big games too. He pulled me to the side one day and he was like, "Hey man, like, let's go work out together. Let's go have dinner." And we sat down and had a great conversation, and we
Yeah.
started having dinners, and
Yeah.
I started getting more comfortable with him,
Mm.
which allowed me to then say, more comfortable things and our flow just started to work.
Sure.
And
Sure.
I want to say I've been there for 4 years now, 4 or 5 years now, which has been awesome. And, I feel like I've gotten better. I still have my moments where, you know, I'll stumble, I'll say stuff, but I feel like I've gotten better and better, and I've learned how to critique myself, right? Like all the things that
Mm.
you learn in football, watching
Yeah.
tape and all those
Watching
things,
film. Yeah.
I've transitioned that to this side where I listen to myself, and I always talk to my boss, Jory Hirsch, and I always tell him, like, give me some feedback if you feel, or um, tell me how you feel. And there's other people in there as well. I have another boss named Amanda. I always ask her as well, like, tell me what you hear. How can I be
Right.
better? What are some of the things that I can do? Is it my
Right.
energy? Is it, am I not using the proper phrases, or how can I be better? And, you need people around you that are going to tell you the truth and not be yes men. And
Yeah.
they've done a tremendous job of just, keeping me on point on what I have to do.
Well, you done a fantastic job. I remember listening to you. It might have been a couple of years ago, and there was like a fantasy football
Oh, yeah.
deal. Like, and I was like, man, like you knew every guy in the league. You knew every single stat. It was like, tell me what was going on with that. Like, did you have a fantasy football show or
Yeah.
like a
No, yeah. So, one of the beautiful things about working on TV is you have to put in your own work. Don't get me wrong. Like,
right?
you have to watch tape. Like, my TV stays on NFL Network. I'm always trying to pick up things. Sometimes I watch our competitor. I'm not gonna say their name. Sometimes I watch the competitors, right? Um, but there's also people in that building that will help. We have researchers. Like,
Okay,
if I'm saying I want to find, Saquon Barkley's numbers from week 5 against the Eagles defense, because they're playing the Eagles defense week 12.
right.
Like, we have people that can go and do that for you. But I've also done that on my own. And
Yeah.
so I also try to talk and figure out other people's opinions as well. Because,
Mm,
it's always good to bounce things off each other, and
right.
because you want to be confident when you're on TV. You don't want to
Right.
maybe, you
That's
want to be
right.
able to talk those things out so that you're confident when that
Mm,
camera comes on. And when you play fantasy football and you're a football fan, like that, a lot of us are, it's
mm,
easy to say, for me, it's easy to be like, I can talk about, you know, Alvin Kamara. I can talk about Christian McCaffrey. I can talk
right.
about Frank. I could talk about anyone, any back, any
The
player,
backs.
because I
Yeah.
love the game.
Sure. Sure. Well, man, we're gonna wrap up, man. I really appreciate your time. One of my favorite guys. I mean, of all time, like my entire career.
I
I
appreciate
mean, I got your picture up in my office, man. Everywhere I see you. Pictures of the stuff I got up of you. You had a tremendous impact on my career, and I learned a lot from you. I just had a couple closing deals. Is it true that I've read something about a vegan
I
deal.
was vegan for a minute. I did
How that?
vegan.
Tell me how that went.
It's crazy. So one of my boys back home was like, "Dude, I just watched this documentary. You should check it out." And it was called "What the Health," and it was like a thing probably like 3 or 4 years ago. And he was like, "Man, like, I'm done eating meat." And I'm like, "Let me watch this." And so I watched it, and I was kind of like, "I'll try it."
Right.
And it's crazy because right away, literally, my allergies went away. I had no inflammation. Like, you get knee injuries and
Right.
ankle.
Right.
I
Right.
could wake up. I was good. Just the problem was I traveled a ton, and so
Mm,
it's
right.
hard to go to like Dallas, Texas, and say, well, now you can do it. But back when I was traveling, it was like, yo, I need this vegan meal. They vegan like they grill and barbecue everything. They cook everything in meat. They probably
Right,
bathe in meat,
right.
right? And so I would get like really sick because I would eat something that had meat in it, or a dressing that wasn't,
Right,
that had dairy in it,
right.
and it would like wear me down. And so
Mm,
I it just became like it was nice, but it's funny because like other guys I've talked to, like Reggie Bush, who's now like going vegan. A
right,
lot of other
right.
people, when I was going vegan, it wasn't cool, right? It was
Now it's
no,
cool, right?
it's cool now. So everybody want to go vegan. So I'm happy to I'm like, look, hey, been there, done that. I try not to eat as much meat as possible, but
Right, right.
I'm not gonna ever stop eating, chicken
Sure,
and steak and
sure,
stuff like that.
sure. So, hey, so what's next for you, man? What's in store for you the next couple of years or down the road with what you got going? What are you thinking
Yeah,
about?
well, first I gotta say congratulations on your new job.
Thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate you, man.
it's funny, when I was in college, I actually took an unofficial there. Great place, cold, but great place. Big campus.
That's right.
I want to say you have what, like 107,000 on campus.
It's a nice sized campus, and it gets a little chilly. But I'm from Cleveland,
Yeah, I
the
know. So
Midwest, so that's what I'm used to. I need that in
you're
my
good.
life. Yeah,
No, I like I said, I think first of all, I always been wanting to tell you congratulations on that. That's a
appreciate you,
big
man.
deal. For me next though, um, I want to do daytime TV.
Mm,
That is my one of my goals when I got into television, was to kind of do what Strahan's doing in
like
a
some
way.
straight hand type stuff,
Yeah,
huh?
like I think what he did was, one was, brilliant, right?
Hmm.
To be able to bridge that gap of your average American and athlete and make people feel comfortable. I think that was
Hmm.
awesome. But also the way he carries himself, right? Like, you
Yeah,
don't he handles everything professionally.
yeah.
He's had some tough tasks that he's had to deal with, and the way he's
Hmm.
handled those things.
Hmm.
And so for me, that's definitely a way I want to go. But also, I want to be able to continue to call the games, and
Hmm.
and just try to see what's just try to keep going in the broadcast television world as best as possible. I don't think I'm gonna do acting though. I mean, you got to be. I can't look like this ever if I'm gonna be acting. So. Uh,
Uh,
I'll stick with the other stuff, the morning talk shows and the different things like that.
well, you're gonna do a great job, man. I'm pulling for you, and as man, anything I can ever do for you, man, just holler at me. I'll be there for you, and I appreciate you taking the time and catching up with me today. I know it's a Saturday, man, so I'm gonna let you get on with the rest of the weekend, and let's stay in touch, man.
We will. I appreciate you, Coach. Like I said, you did wonders for myself and a lot of other guys in this league as well, man. I appreciate you, and you coach with one of my boys, Tosh.
Yeah, yeah. I coach with Tosh. Man. Tosh, Tosh gets after it, man. Tosh,
Yeah,
high energy guy, loves football, work his butt off, recruits
smart.
hard, and
Yeah,
I really enjoy Tosh, man. He's a great dude, man. Great
yes.
dude.
We have a lot of connections through other people as well. But like I say, anytime I can do this, no problem. I appreciate you asking me to come on. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Hey, I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, man. I'll talk to you real soon, okay, buddy?
All right, man. I'll see you later.
All right, we'll see, buddy. Take care.